Jesus.
Mm.
See my newsreaders shuffle papers.
Do you say you're going to shuffle pages to look busy or what?
Yeah, like newsreaders do, while they're waiting
Oh,
to the intro, and I'm like, gotta look like I'm doing something.
well,
Just sit here down for someone to turn me on.
I had started prepping this little Zoom transfer or whatever you want to call it. And then, but I let it sit too long, so then I had to redo it anyway. So, oh, dang, we already got one person on here. Okay. Where'd you go?
Probably just my mother.
Well, I was like, come back. I'm like, you're gone.
Yeah. And I
All right.
got all anxious and took off.
I was like, yeah, you gotta go poop or anything, or we need to take a quick break before it gets started.
No, I just had to submit my job application to Walmart. Here they are in greeters.
Okay, guys. So welcome to another, I guess, episode. I don't even know what you call these. With the Kettlebell Sport Almanac. So I have Shannon Pigdon. Apparently, I've been saying his name wrong for a number of years. With me today, and we're gonna kind of talk about how you got the Australian Girevoy Sport Association team set up because you guys have like a pretty big program. Or well, I feel like it's big. Maybe you just make it look big. Maybe there's only five people over there. I don't know.
Oh, smoke and mirrors, the whole
It's
lot.
all smoke and mirrors. But I do feel like that you guys have really created a really positive atmosphere where you've created a lot of growth. So why don't you first just give us a little bit of background on you and like how you got started in kettlebell sport?
Why, thank you, Kim Fox, and I appreciate you having me on here. So, how I got started in kettlebell sport? Let's see. Started training with kettlebells in 2011. Uh, got upskilled in that around 2012. Joined a kettlebell education company where I started training with them and then other delivering kettlebell education for a few years. And while I was doing that, that's how I got introduced to sport. Another fellow, Peter Kirk, who I worked with in that company, he was training in the sport at the time, and that's how I got introduced to it. So in 2014, I believe I may have, done my first workshops with like Sergey Rudnev when he visited Australia. I did my first competition in 2014, first nationals in 2015, and then started doing a whole bunch of stuff after that. So yeah, in the sport, just over 13 years, and then kettlebells in general, almost 15 years. In that time, I've represented Australia 12 times since
Don't
2015.
don't toot your horn or anything here.
No, 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 shush while I start tooting away. Right. All right. No, no, fine. Ask the next question.
No.
That was a very wonderful question, though. Thanks. Good start.
So, I mean, I've seen you at competition a ton of times, and
Hmm.
you guys always bring a very lively team that usually includes horns, which we all very much
What?
enjoy. Do what?
Horn. What do we
Horn,
include? Oh,
horns,
horns.
horns.
Okie
Yeah.
dokie. Mm-hmm.
Uh, I think you actually only did that one year, but they were so loud. Oh my gosh. We were like, oh, these people and these horns. You had like
I'm
blow
sure that wasn't
horns.
us. I'm sure that wasn't us. We're just loud though in general.
Oh
So
no, you were loud and you had horns. So it
Oh, okay.
was like a double whammy.
Yeah. Oh, that's okay. I don't mind being described as loud and horny. It's fine.
Okay, so you got started in kettlebell sport. So what brought about actually starting the organization?
Oh, the
Or what?
organization already existed. So
Oh,
it's
did it?
been,
Okay.
yeah. It kicked off in 2007,
Okay.
and just existed as kind of like like an underground back, you know, not the dark web, but it's just one of those sports that wasn't very well known. And to be honest, it still isn't. You know this. Everyone who's in the sport outside of Europe knows this all too well. And in 2016, there was a change of the committee, and these people who came in the committee came in with all these new ideas and directions and ways they wanted to grow the sport. And they invited me in 2017 to in this role that was created to develop events. So I came on board because of the amount of people that I had known through all this kettlebell education over the previous almost decade before it, was that, or 5 or 6 years before it, was to reach out to all these people I knew, because I trained thousands of personal trainers and allied health professionals on how to use kettlebells, so that I knew people everywhere. And this new incoming committee liked this idea of trying to use those connections to form, like little pockets of communities around the country, because Australia is vast. It's pretty big, and our population is really spread out. So it's quite difficult for us to gather together. So when I came in, so when I competed in 2015, there was only two kettlebell competitions for the whole year. And no, sorry, that was in 2016. 2015, there might have only been one. And yeah, so the idea was then, could I, if tasked to, could I put together a season, a competitive like season, so that it gave lifters a direction um, and like what we have here mirrors it, and you guys have it over in the States too, where like there's a beginning and an end to our sport. So our football season, starts starts around the March and finishes in September. And that almost lines up with kettlebell sport, because our world championships at the time were always around October, November. So this
Mm-hmm.
idea of running us through our winter as well, because in Europe it's a winter sport. So lining that over, and then being able to create these events where they all linked up and led to each other. So rather than be these random events, which they were before, even though there's only like two of them, there'd be just some club that just threw on something on one day, and then someone put together a nationals at another time of the year. Could we like have the association run specific events for their members, in the idea that we would drive up more interest and then grow our membership base? Because, well, let me tell you this: when we did start, I think 36 people had registered and competed in that nationals in 2016, and there wasn't even that many members. So that was mind blowing. We had less members than competitors. That was a weird concept as well, because you were supposed to be a member to register.
Mm-hmm.
However, yeah, and then that idea is sort of where that started. So I was asked, how could I help generate more members for the association, and my plan was to create a kettlebell calendar that featured events around the country that would then give people some motivation to unite at that one location, which would be our nationals, and then keep everybody under that one umbrella. That makes sense?
Oh yeah, I mean, I just put all that together in a nutshell.
Great.
So when you guys got started, or when you came on board, you said you had about how many? About 30
Yeah,
members?
it wasn't many. It was around 30-ish members.
And how many different kettlebell sport primary like clubs were going at that time?
Yeah, well, that's a bit harder one to quantify, because at that time it was really
Because we're
uh,
talking about this is so 2000, you said 2007 is when the organization got started
yeah,
by some
yep.
some people that
Mm-hmm.
And then in
Not some people. Big
2016,
shout out. Hey, sorry, go on. I was not some
uh,
people. Big shout out to Paul Tucker. Paul Tucker was the name of the fella that started the organization. So let's not just glaze over his the fact that someone got the ball rolling here.
I really am just putting you on the spot here. Like he's probably like this asshole. You're like, I'm just going along with the questions that she has. I don't know.
Yes.
Um, but at that time, like obviously kettlebell sport is pretty small in Australia.
Yeah.
Um, how did you go about, I guess, trying to get more clubs involved and really, I mean, it's really the act of trying to create new clubs so that they can in turn recruit more people so you can have more members, more people at nationals, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
So what was there, did you feel like you guys had a little bit of a process for that?
Yeah. So the thing we identified when we got involved was that the current like sort of landscape of the sport around Australia was sort of like garage lifting. So you didn't really and all the clubs were like these tiny little half dozen clusters of people who really didn't want to do much except their own little thing. It was almost a challenge to get any of them to move around or to interact with each other. And then there was also another subset that was almost like what do you call it? Gatekeeping the sport. Like they had their very own special little thing that made them feel, better than everybody else. And they were threatened by this idea that other people could come in and, and excel at it, not take it away. No one was ever having it taken away from them. But, there were plenty of, what would you say, big fish in small ponds that didn't like the idea that, more people might get invited into that pond and what that might do to them. So when I say that there was 30 people when we started, that number actually probably dropped down straight away before it started to grow back up, just because immediately some people were just like, nah, I don't feel special anymore. So I'm going to go and find something else that I can be the winner at when no one else is around. So
And
that
I
was a
think,
ton.
I don't know if you guys have this issue or sometimes I feel like, when you're in the process of trying to bring a community together, people, like you said, feel like you're trying to take power away, rather than you're like, hey, no, we're trying to get everybody to come together so we can have, obviously a bigger group involved. We can spread the, spirit of kettlebell sport or whatever you want to call it
Yeah.
to more people, and in turn trying to bring the organizations because I think Australia really did they ever have more than one organization, or it's always just been the one?
No, not at a national level. Like we've had the influence of many overseas things, and even people who were like representatives of those different branches of our like international friends. None of them had really. Oh, no, well, that's not true. A couple of them did try to set up sort of their own little thing, but again, it still fitted the same mold of like I'm just the garage thing. I don't really have any intent on growing this any bigger than myself. And a lot of people still do use this as a vehicle to try and drive their own self-interest. So when you said there about it wasn't about taking power away from people, it was more about empowering smaller communities, but finding actual communities. And the
Hmm.
rock that seemed to, or the gems that seemed to stand out there weren't these like little single garage hidden things, because they stay there, these little introverted clusters that don't want to come out and play with everybody. What were the best things to do
And
was to
that's
go and,
okay. It's
oh, no,
okay if
no,
you,
trust me, it
no, no,
is.
no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's completely okay. But you couldn't use those sort of setups or that format to help grow the sport. What you could do though is you could find like facilities that did like and preach and immerse themselves in kettlebell sport, and there was a couple of them around. And the best part about them is they already had a culture and a community of themselves that were also very inviting for the garage clusters to come and join them when you had events. And that's what we saw. So probably one of the best examples is that when I got connected with people in Tasmania, so Eilish Kidd, who's down in Hobart. I'd never met her before, and she accepted the invitation via Steph Jessup, another person in the kettlebell community, who said, I know these people down here. I think they love kettlebell sport. And we're like, well, cool. Let's go down there and talk to them and meet them. And we went down there, had competition, saw that they were right into it. And the best part about it was, rather than us come in there and set up a branch of the National Association in Hobart to try to encourage it to be done our way, probably the best thing that was done in my tenure there was allowing the people in each of these spots to do kettlebell sport their way. And what the really neat thing about that was, Kim Fox, was that when we united everybody together, when we got to these bigger events like nationals, or even at the time these state championships, you ended up with this great kaleidoscope of kettlebell lifting. And what that really did was, it's what shaped the direction that we took. So it wasn't any one idea that I had in the events thing, or it was Jess Wad, who was the president, who invited me into that role. And then Cheryl Snyder took that role over later. And what she did that was really good was, she would go to all of these different communities, and I would go in there and set these events up as well. And we would let them tell us how to make those events change. So over those the first couple, especially those first couple of years, really formative, because it was the people on the ground that you would talk to before, during, and after the events, and then ask them what it is that they wanted more or less of. And that's what we would carry into the next events. And then we'd go to another spot, and that would happen, and that would evolve again and again and again and again and again. I think the best thing that we ever did was give all of the power of running, and all of the autonomy of kettlebell sport for a particular area was run by an independent club, rather than the association rolling in there going, boom, here's our local constituent, sign up to our template and come along and do vanilla lifting with us. What was really cool is that these people wanted to do kettlebell sport their way, and that influenced how these people did it, and this then influenced how these people did it. And that is what shaped all of the stuff that ended up creating probably the things that people overseas started to hear about. And that was this idea that we were just starting to run these great competitions and these wonderfully large celebratory championships that people would rather almost go to than the Worlds.
So a lot of your stuff really was pretty fluid in the overall development of the organization, and really allowed the people themselves to drive what was happening. Yeah, I'm always, because I'm the president for the AKLU, and I'm always trying to find, like, hey, like, what's the best for everyone? Like, how can we make this easier for people to get involved? Like, we don't need to create more barriers. Like, I understand that a lot of people want to have like a very clear, strict representation of like what the sport is, to keep its integrity, I guess.
Right.
But I really want to focus on, like, how can we get more people to the competition? How can we make the competition more fun? What are the things that people want to cue in on? Okay, are they super concerned about rankings? Is that really not their concern? And really, they want competition. So, where do they fall? And then, like you said, which I think is really important, is allowing each one of the competitions to kind of have their own thing, while still trying to create a support for them to do that, which I think is a really good point. And I just appreciate that you're validating my own opinion.
That's why I'm here. Like, all I'm trying to do is just pump your tires up, Kim Fox. That's why I'm here. You're doing a great job at that.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
So what you said on there, sorry to interrupt, but you mentioned about it being fluid, and we had this principle of like Kaizen, this continual improvement, which for us was every time a competition was ran, I would sit down with the facilitators of the event, the owners of the facilities, right? And we would we would go through these Q&As, right? Over drinks, right? That was the best part of it. You'd hang out with these
You
people,
guys do like your drinks. I do know that.
right? Look, I'm telling you, at local and international level, nothing has really helped us form better relationships than the idea of just sitting down and just doing this sort of stuff, right? So, excuse
I
me.
think it was in Hungary that we stayed up. Me and Jake were sitting downstairs with you guys at a hotel. Like
It was. We
I,
were
I
drinking gin in the hotel for way too long.
yeah, I think we were there till like 1 a.m. And finally I was like, I have to go to bed because I don't think I had to compete the next day, but I still had to get up and go in. But yeah, it was a
But
good
no,
time.
and you're right. But it was in those moments, and I remember that one too very well because we did have some very good conversations that changed a lot of stuff that we did when we came home as well. Right, getting insights even from other countries, both in kettlebell sport, and thank you very much for the BJJ wisdom that Jake filmed that video from my little prodigy back here, and it was we'd sit down and it was never about like the pumping up of the tires, like what did you love about it and what would you like to see more of. It was how could we make this better, and it was identifying a lot of the things that people didn't enjoy that really helped us change a lot of that stuff, because it didn't matter what we did or said. Again, it always comes down to how people feel when they leave. So if people are walking out of events, we had people walking out of events prior to when we started doing this stuff, and their feedback was didn't like sitting around for 3 hours for certificates. Start times, like the flight schedule wasn't on time. Weigh-ins were like not when they were supposed to be. So in allowing people to have creative control of their events, which was awesome because it also turned the little independent spots into like little mini parties and these little social like things that they were the things that drew people in. People can go and sweat and lift weights in the gym. It was the idea that people would get together in a meaningful way because you could still compete. But then there was this element afterwards that was almost what they were looking forward to it more than anything. People were always like, what are we doing after the event? It wasn't the event itself. So what we had to provide then was just the uniform experience that allowed people and encouraged people to travel for the sport as well when we could, and know that if you turned up in Perth or Brisbane or Sydney or Melbourne or here in Albury, that the platforms would be the same, the timer, the judging clocks would be the same, the way that we ran the schedule would be the same, the weigh-in would be the same, start times and all that sort of stuff. All of that was very, very similar. The kettlebell, we even ended up getting Kettlebell Kings bells as a part of a uniform experience, because one of the feedbacks early on was people saying, I turned up to a gym and I was doing doubles and I had an off-brand pair of bells. One had a thin handle, one had a big handle. It felt weird and all the rest of it. And the only reason I'll have to share this secret with you. The only reason that we ended up with Kettlebell Kings is we sent out like inquiries to kettlebell manufacturers around the world, and Kettlebell Kings were the one who answered us. Like that's how that got about it, and they were close enough. Like they had a uniform handle, a uniform thing, and what that allowed us to do was whenever people got onto a platform anywhere, they knew that it was going to be that, so they could prepare for that. And again, that was just one of their feedbacks. So yeah, if anybody's ever touched those things in this country, here's a fun fact for you: I've held it because that they came through our hands to get there. That was the thing, and so providing people could turn up and rely. It was this idea that it was reliable, and you could trust it. So they knew that if they turned up to any of our events, they knew exactly what they were getting, and because they didn't have to worry about that, they could put their attention into what was going to happen around the event, what they wanted to do, particularly on the day. You had people dressing up on stuff. You had people just, again, making foods and drinks. It turned into like a family dinner at some of these places where the people just put out these big spreads and that, and it was just like a potluck. And people would be making drinks and that and all the rest of it. And then it was like, let's get the event done and let's get this out of here. So punching out results and getting certificates out, if that was what the requirement was, or trophies or medals or all the rest of it, getting all that out so that then people could really move on to the thing that they wanted to do, which was celebrate this idea that they just did all this cool shit together. Because kettlebell sport's hard, right? And and the only time you get to talk about it is when you're hanging around other kettlebell sport people. Because for the rest of the time, you're running around going, oh, what'd you do on the weekend? You go, oh, I went to a kettlebell sport competition. Like, what's a kettlebell? So yeah, we all know what it's like. So it's really nice to be able to get people together after the ceremonies are over and then hang out. And that was the stuff that really started to draw people together. So in our national competition, in the Australian football, actually in our rugby and most of our Australian league shit, because we're Australians, we would have an end of year presentation dinner where you award your best player and all that sort of thing, and everybody's invited. So one of the things that was identified was people wanted to do that on the back end of nationals. It's the only time we ever got together because we are in these different pockets. So at this one event where we all get together, make it an absolute gem. Don't try and do it in a bingo hall or someone's gym or someone's shed. Like, get a proper venue so that when you walk in, you go, holy shit, I'm in a national championship. Like, it feels like, I remember the first one we did in 2017 this way. People walked in and the news was there and all this sort of stuff. Like, there was a bunch of stuff that wasn't that like necessary, but people walked in and was like, oh my God, like, this is for me. And they loved it. And then at the end of it, we had the dinner, we all sat down, and during the dinner, we'd hand out the awards and the like. And then, like I said, and then people then adopted that. So clubs would then become the become the facilitators of the national championship. And what that allowed them to do was to put their spin on it. One of my favorite ones of all time, we went down to Tasmania, and in the presentation dinner, they had a drag show on and all of this interactive stuff with the crowd. It was wonderful. And then when that was followed up, because of then what would happen is people would get past the ball, right? And you'd have to equal the standard before you or bring something. And we went up to Queensland, and Queensland just put on this spectacular sort of thing that was different all again. So every time you went somewhere for nationals, it just felt like it's like the Super Bowl. It's in a different city, so it has a different feel. And what made it special is the people in that city were the ones who put the show on, which was great because they organized the event, they would bump out the event, they would look after you. So when we started visiting these towns, rather than be us volunteering to pack all the shit up at the end of the day, the people in the town, because it was their 1 year to be our what do you call it? Hosts, that's the one. They would just look after all of their visitors. It didn't matter where you came from. So you could come from a garage or another club, or you could not have a coach. It didn't matter. You roll up here, everybody made you feel like an absolute superstar. They looked after you. You didn't have to do any of the stuff. You'd roll into dinner. You'd feel like an absolute champion there because people are giving you awards and mugs. Oh, the mug is the best thing in Australian things. You guys don't have this, right? So I'm going to tell you what the mug is.
You mean like a mug?
Yeah. Oh, this is what I mean. So This is what you see us doing at Worlds and not really understanding why we drink so much. But if you were to win in country sports at grassroots levels, right? So at our amateur level, right? The way we all grew up, when you become old enough, if you win the man of the match or the woman of the match, right, for our whatever sport you're playing, you get presented like the best on field. Plus, you also get a mug. And what that mug is that is your vessel to carry around for the rest of the night, and it always has to get filled up by everybody, right? So,
okay.
Yeah, right. Every time your mug is empty, someone in the club has to fill it up for you. And again, and just instilling these very Australian isms, because that's what people want. They've come from these sports, and they're like, what I really miss was the camaraderie that happened when you would unite around those things. It wasn't about the glassware. Who gives a shit about the trophy? It's just going to go in the cupboard. But what did matter is while you were carrying it around, everybody was gathering around. And again, it just keeps all of the conversation and connection flowing. And that is what made people turn up again the next time. Right? It's that stuff.
You see this also at world competitions, depending on what country is hosting, it really sets the tone for you're like, oh, I want to go back again next year because they had a really cool gala or whatever, or just like the things that they had set up at the competition that, made it really inviting and fun. That's what you're going back for, right? That's the thing that really brings you in. You're like, oh, I want to go back to. I'll call out Poland because I thought they had a really great competition at the WKSF. Like they put on a really good show, and they just made it really fun. And it's solely because of the people that were running the Polish team and the competition putting it on, because it 100% varies from each world competition based on where it is. Not that they don't all put on like a nice looking competition, but there definitely is variances for when you're like, holy shit, like that really hit. Like, be like, I want to go back so bad.
Yeah, and that's what happens when you turn that over to the hosts to take care of that, rather than, WKSF as an example, they could just roll into the city and put up their vanilla thing, and we would have a very vanilla competition, and we would walk away from that feeling vanilla. Like
Mhm.
you've hit the nail on the head. Like I get it.
And I think when you put so many different requirements on like what you have to do, I think like we talked about, there should be some elements like, hey, we need to have like these standardized things so people are getting a fair competition, right? We've got judges that are trained, which is one thing that I'm really working on here in the United States, is putting together an actual online judging program where there's actual education that's involved, and then testing at the end. Because currently we do have an online thing, but there's no true education in it. And I see that when I go to competitions, especially if I have the poor judges that are there, that when I'm the head judge, I'm sure they hate it because I'm very involved. Um, and
No, I can't imagine you standing at the back of the room with your very inviting face on that people are not threatened at all.
Well, I'm very much about like, hey, you're the judge. It should be your decision that you're making. You're the one that's making the determination. So generally, I don't come up during sets and tell judges what they need to do. It's usually afterwards and be like, hey, this is what happened during that set. You need to focus on this. Like those repetitions should not have counted for whatever, unless there's something like really crazy happening. And then I have to like physically like walk over and be like, this can't happen because it's not fair to the other competitors, which is usually with someone who's a brand new lifter. And then you have a brand new judge who's like feels uncomfortable telling them that they're doing it wrong because it makes them feel bad. So they don't want to tell them they have a no count. And you're like, well, yeah, but this guy next to him is doing perfect repetitions. I was like, this guy's going to be really upset if he loses because we're letting this other person just do whatever they want. And he's over here following all the rules. I was like, and I'm going to be upset because it's not fair to him that, we could have let him just do whatever the fuck he wanted. Um, so, but I think there is like some medium ground there where you're like, okay, we need certain elements that every competition should have, but then also like we can't get so strict that it it makes them unwilling to want to do it or unwilling to want to work with you, right? Um, so there has to be some middle ground there. And I think at certain competitions, or organizations, that they get so into all the little rules and like, you can't do this, you can't do that. And you're like, why is this even a rule? Like, why are we doing this? Is it just, we just have something written down just because?
Yeah.
Is this improving the lifter's experience? Is it actually making the competition better? Does this make more people want to come back? Looking at all those different things. And then if it doesn't meet our needs, then like it's okay to get rid of stuff. It's okay to not do it
Right.
anymore.
That's it. It's just as good to don't have to always add things. You can also chuck
Hmm.
stuff out, right? That's a pretty good one. And I think another thing that you point out quite well there that you just reminded me, one thing that worked really is that whole idea of like you're focusing on people rather than processes. As soon as people start going down the red tape rule of things, saying no, this is the way it needs to be done, your outcome is not about the person that's on the platform, and they're the people you're trying to get in, right? So if the person on the platform is not having a great time because you want to feel self-important by the way that you're running your processes, then you're going to not probably see that person again. And in a sport that's hard enough to get people to start, getting them to come back is the thing. So I don't know how you guys go, but in my observations, like the life expectancy of a new lifter was about 2 years, right? And I blame part of that to the fact that we might have too much low hanging fruit in the sport to nurture long term stuff. Like, I really like that we have things that help people get started. Like you said, removing some barriers. However, as soon as people sort of tick off that stuff and then kettlebell sport starts moving into that bit where you go, oh no, I have to like practice and train and show up a bit more and, and work at it a bit, that's an off ramp for a lot of people. So if the on platform stuff gets sticky and hard, what are we providing for them that's going to keep them turning up during that hard period where they're in like dust mode and they need to just keep showing up and showing up and showing up? And for us, it was about it was the community stuff around the event. Like, yeah, you can run the tightest competition around. Like we did. We ran competitions over multiple time zones at once, and they all ran on time and they all finished on time, and everybody liked that part of it. But we were all spread out all over the country. This is like during COVID when we couldn't get together, right? And I think maybe one of the things where you think about chucking stuff out, maybe you got to start looking at how often you do the online Zoomy type things, because you're starting to create disconnect in the pockets again. Whereas originally that was just to help keep chugging people along. Maybe we need to start looking at ways to actually connect people again back in real time. How do you do that? Well, there's your question. Answer that for me, Kim Fox.
Well, when I came into kettlebell sport, uh, that was like 2012 is when I first got started. And then that was with the IKFF. So, in the
Mm-hmm.
United States, there's like quite a few different organizations that have sprung up over time.
Mm-hmm.
And those are all great. And I think that there is a benefit to all these different little niches. Um,
Mm.
but what I think that really hurt us in the United States and like what really started a drawdown is that none of those organizations really came together to utilize like all their different benefits and what the people like about those organizations and really work together because everyone was like, I need my piece of the pie. Um,
Right.
so with the AKLU when I came on, I was like my big dream was to really have all those. We don't need to get rid of the organizations. Like they don't need to
Right.
go away. What we needed was really, or what I think we need and we could go to is that all of them falling under one like larger umbrella, right? You still have the IKFF, you still have the IKO, you still have USKSL, you still have, and they all still do their own things, right? They all still have their own way of doing it. They have their own clubs that are really specific to them, but making it so the people that compete at those clubs that are really, really interested in sport, that they don't have to meet so many requirements to be involved. Um, Currently, like if you want to go to the IUKL Worlds, you have to go to their nationals, right? The USKSL nationals. And then if you want to go to WKSF Worlds, you have to go to this nationals. You have to, and so it's like all these people just want to compete, right?
Yeah.
So why can't all these organizations find a way for us to work together under one umbrella to enable those all these different groups of people to really get together?
Right.
Um, because one, none of us are sponsored. So, I mean, I'm not sponsored. Like I'm paying my way to go to everything. So to ask me to go to all these different competitions to get qualified, it's just not going to happen. Like I just don't have the time, nor do I want to invest that much money for it. Like I'm already spending thousands of dollars, like you guys do, because going from the United States over to Europe somewhere, especially for me, I live like in the middle of the country, is very expensive. And then on
Mm.
top of that, to get to all the competitions that I need to go to in order to qualify. And then on
Mm-hmm.
top of that, the competitions that I want to go to because I think they're fun, right? Because that's how I base
Yeah.
most of my decisions about where I'm going to compete. I'm like, which one
Mm-hmm.
was fun?
Yeah.
So which one did I have the most fun at? And when that one's no longer fun, if I find another one, then I'm going to go to that one. So I don't
Right.
really,
There you go.
yeah. So I don't really necessarily have a. I'm not really stuck with one organization or the other. I've competed at them all, and there's things I like about all of them
Mm.
and things that I don't like.
Mm.
But what determines where I go is, am I having fun? You know? So the organizations that really pump it up, make it a party,
Yep.
make it exciting to go, those are the ones I go to. And if something happens that they're not like that anymore, then I find a different one. So I think that's the biggest thing is like, how are you making the competition community based and fun?
Yep.
Um, so it's like, how do we get back to having more of those? And some of it's just, the people that put on the competitions, like how much work do you want to put into it? Um, and maybe some of that is on the organization as well. Like, what can we help provide so that it's easier for you to invest some more of your own time to build up that fun part because the organization is helping you take care of the tedious part.
Right.
So building, spreadsheets and tables that auto calculate to each organization. So you're not over there like looking up, like, okay, they got CMS. Okay, next
Hmm.
person. They got, and it's automatically doing it for you. Like, can we invest money into that to create, something like this? Um, Timers and counters, like, can we develop something to get those out to people so they're not having to purchase, $2,000 worth of timers and counters,
Yeah.
and they can take the money they would have spent on that for a competition they're only going to have once a year,
Mm.
and invest that into having snacks at the event, having a DJ, having, whatever.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I think, um, or especially for us, because we have lots of multiple ones.
Mm.
Those organizations coming together to utilize all those resources to the best benefit of the athletes, um, rather than because I mean none of the organizations are making any money per se. Like, um, nobody on our board is paid. It's all volunteer work. And any money that we're bringing in, we invest back into athletes, paying for uniforms so they don't have to pay for them. If we can pay for travel, if we have enough money, like to help support travel for them. And then sending money back out to the competitions, like, hey, can we provide, $500 or $1,000 for each competition to help them pay for things like banners that they're only going to use once.
Right.
Um, so looking at things like that, where those organizations are really putting back into the community and helping them build up their own product rather than, us just trying to run the product.
That right there. That's one of the things that worked really well. So again, non-for-profit organization. So we're not in it to make any money. The government, the way that it's all set up, we're basically a charity. So any of the money that we make, it needs to be reinvested anyway. Well, what we did was we surveyed the members again and asked where would they like the money spent? Would they like it spent? And it was explicit in the questioning. Would you like it spent to send people overseas or help international athletes with uniforms and stuff, like you said? Or would you like it to be more invested at home? And it was overwhelming for at home. So as much as that sort of gets me because I spend so much of my money traveling overseas to help this sport, like back at home, it doesn't matter what I want or what I do. I was the volunteer. I'm choosing to do that. I don't deserve to be paid because I wanted to volunteer. The people who are the members, our role in the committee was to facilitate what they want. Well, it's not a business. We don't get to run it. It's not my vision, right? It's not what I want in kettlebell sport or any of the committee people either. It is my job to facilitate the needs of our members, right? And they did ask for things like timers and banners. And even though they might have only used them once a year, at one point there they were using them 2 or 3 times a year because they'd have a regional championship and a state championship. So within there, that stuff would get used twice. And then during COVID, that blew out to like 6 times a year because we'd have these online competitions where there was more. So it was warranted for us to then buy those $1,000 timers, $2,000 timers, and send them out there because it was helping. But they weren't just getting used that 2 or 3 times a year. The clubs, because they were facilities, not just sitting in someone's shed or garage in between meets. They were actually there all the time. And what that actually became was an inviting tool for members of that community who didn't know what kettlebell sports is to go, what's that big fucking flash thing over in the corner there that everyone's playing with and counting their kettlebell reps with? And then, oh, that's the timer we use in the competitions and blah, 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 blah. And the banners would stay hanging present in the gym. So the paraphernalia becomes omnipresent, where if it's just rolled up and under somebody's bed or in the back of someone's truck until the next meet, it's doing nothing. But when we started to invest in facilities rather than these little hubs, we were looking at clubs, then we started to become more visual. And then organically, we would start to pick up more people in those areas, because they would then start to get more exposure to kettlebell sport, just because they're at guerrilla marketing. There it is. There's our logos in the background, right? During sessions, like it's the handful of athletes that did the sport have got the timer out and they're counting each other while they're training together. And then other people are starting to see that and going, what is that? That looks fun. I'd like to do that or give that a go. And they start getting involved with the sport. And what was the other thing? There was one other element that I was going to put in there, and it has completely escaped me. But I will get to it. So please play some filler music while I have a bit of a drink and think.
What are you drinking here? I mean, it's 8 a.m. here, so I'm just drinking an energy drink.
It is what is it? What is it? It's 11 something in the evening.
11:46.
Yeah, and where I am is currently a long weekend. We had our Anzac Day yesterday, lest we forget, for all the folks that served for Australia and New Zealand. So yesterday that was that, and then that rolls into my part of the country into a long weekend. So I'll stay here and talk to you as long as you like.
Oh, so you have tomorrow? Are you saying you have tomorrow off?
I'm saying that I can be a bit more liberal with what time I get out of bed in the morning.
Well, I guess this is like perfect timing then for when we were going to do this. By the way, Jake also apparently he's watching, even though we're at the gym. He's probably around the corner. He said any event with the Aussies is always a good time.
I am very, very sorry, and I'll get you a beer the next time I see you, or a gin and tonic, whatever it is that you're missing. I'm sure it's church.
He'll have to. He wasn't on there when I was talking about that. Well, we also weren't live, so I'll have to tell him I told you that.
Why? Because that ain't gonna hurt
me. People that are watching are like, what the hell are they talking about? So
here's another one. Here's the contrast to that. Then this was unrelated to the thing I forgot about. No, I'm going to pretend I remembered it. So the thing I meant to say earlier was, in the parts of the country where this didn't exist, where we didn't have like facility owners and gym people who were into kettlebell sport to the point where it existed this way, the growth was almost non-existent. So there really is something to finding a home within a home to plant yourself, so that the local people can become invested in what it is that you're bringing to them. Because they do. They just want to feel like they're a part of something. And those people who do come in and watch other people train with the clocks and with the stuff in the background, they're the ones who I want to feel a part of that. And that's what happens. But in the parts of the country where that didn't exist, and where the timers did live in storerooms and the banners were just rolled up in between meets, very little to zero growth in all of those areas. Easily in hindsight, one of the best things we did was match up with other facility owners who were invested in kettlebell sport as much as we were, because they were doing it anyway and they loved it as much as we did. That was the point of it. There was other places where business owners helped us out, but because they were not in the sport, their help was much appreciated. It just didn't grow and didn't have a presence like it did when you go and seek out these communities that are run by amazing people.
Mm-hmm.
So people, it's always people. It doesn't matter. You could write the best handbook in the world. That list of processes will get you nowhere if you do not have people to engineer that, because they feel like they're a part of it.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of those people all have different or good ideas that they maybe haven't made light of, right? So giving them an opportunity to help build the program, build the sport. So people, obviously, like if you put energy into it and something was your idea or whatever, like you feel vested, right? So you want to make it grow more. You want to, but when we're operating like in a bubble and it's just like one group of people making decisions that, you can see as an effect, like that people don't like, but they're not getting any feedback to say like, hey, we don't want to have, all single arm events on one day. We want to be broken up.
Yeah, 100%. No, seriously, if someone suggested that, I'd do it. Right? You would, because that's what people want, man. Like they know, yeah. And it shapes everything. I'm looking at the art on the wall behind you. It's very nice. And
Thanks. I painted it.
did
I
you?
did these. Yes.
Okay. No, very well done.
It's the different phases of long cycle.
Oh shit, it is too. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, the first one is like swinging the bells through the legs and then jerking and then under squat.
All right, well, so here we go. You're going to make my point even better. Some of the best things, right? Some of the best like shirts and artworks and everything came because in all the pockets of communities, you'd have someone that was like artistically like minded, and they would create for their year, for their club, when they hosted it, a unique thing, just like that, just like those examples behind you. And I've still got the ones that are wonderful. Like now we're shifting into a world where like, AI and chat GBT are spitting out these really generic looking things and people know the difference. Like seeing something unique and special like that and then having that because no one else, like it was made by somebody who was there, is just another one of those things that just really, it makes you feel like you're part of something. Like I've left places with people's art on my body. Like that's a cool thing. Whereas like, it's not like leaving a concert where I just walked away with some genetic printed thing out on a shirt. Yeah.
By the way, we haven't gotten to any of my questions yet. So
that's good. 3 hours to go.
Oh, we're not talking for 3 whole hours. Well, I got a massage in like an hour and a half. So
all right. Do you want one of these questions?
So, do you want me to look at them? I haven't reviewed them.
All right, just throw one at me and then we'll go back to these proper questions of yours. Don't proofread them. Stop speed reading and try to pick one.
Okay.
Just read it.
So what do you think helped turn individual lifters, which I think we kind of already talked about this, really, individual lifters to like get into the community or those individual lifters into a real community situation?
How do you get the lifters into a community situation?
How did you get, because we were talking about how there's a lot of smaller hubs that are just like people lifting out of their garage, getting those individual lifters into the community itself, because there's a ton of people that aren't in clubs. I've got a guy that is in Kansas City. I don't train him, but he's contacted me a number of times and he's just lifting out of his garage, and I think a lot of times they don't really get into the community maybe until they get a coach that's already involved in the community. But how to get those people that are learning off YouTube, that are just figuring it out for themselves, they enjoy lifting, getting them into the community.
Yeah. So we have answered this. I was just thinking of the best examples of when I saw it. And you go to these competitions, like we'd have nationals, and you would have all these people come from their garage, especially to come to these competitions. And I had been to what were previously state championships where the same thing would happen. Someone would roll up to this event thinking, there's a cool event near me. I'm going to like get out of my comfort zone and turn up here. The whole idea of having a coach, I think that just bridges knowing someone there. So you're not just a stranger. You go, there's my coach. My coach is the familiar person, like hold my hand and help me meet people. But the people would roll up and do the event, which was predictable because we use social media to stream all of our stuff, right? So it made it showable there. That was the easiest thing to do. So people would scroll through social media, they would see our competitions and they would see how they run. That's the platform, that's the bell, that's the thing. It didn't matter where it was. They're like, I know what to expect. So we're managing people's expectations. And then it was that aftermath where people then just got hooked for a bit, started joining conversations because you'd create a situation where people stayed at the event or then they met somewhere. Like some of the places were wonderful for going, there's live music and a food truck at this thing, everybody be there in 45 minutes. And then you'd go and catch up there or whatever. But people would be, these new lifters would turn up there because they've been introduced and all the rest of it through it all. There's one girl I remember, one woman that I remember at an event I was at, and she reached out to me after the event. And when game day was on, I'm hopeless. I've got so much spectrum stuff going on in my head that I don't barely have a conversation with anybody because I was immersed in the job. But she reached out to me afterwards and she said, "Oh, can you tell me more about the sport?" She came down to have a look at it. She didn't even compete. And I'm like, "Oh, well, I remember you. What would you like to know?" And she's like, "Oh, just tell me how to start, what to do, and all the rest." And I just had this conversation with her backwards and forwards about it. And then in the end, you go, "Oh, why? You live near this thing and I don't. Why did you reach out to me?" And she's like, "You're the only person who came and said hello to me during the day and introduced yourself." And I don't talk to people, but you're still in your robot mode, right? Just introduce yourself, make people feel comfortable, make them feel welcome, and all the rest of it. Like I get it. Some people are just either like in the zone and then they forget that there's strangers in the room, or other people have just got their head up their ass and they don't think about that anyhow. But just making people feel like they're seen and they're heard is a really good way to make people feel invited, and that's what will make them hang around enough to maybe ask the next question. And then if you invite them along to the social things, they will get into that. And then before you know it, they're like, "You know what? I was just coming down here because I was interested in kettlebell sport, and now I've made all these friends, or I've made these connections with people that I wouldn't know before." And if they are garage people, I'm not saying this is a, I'm not going to
We're
pick
just
on garage
calling them garage people.
people. Yeah. Just these
Is this
garage
like,
people.
I don't know if you remember, there was a movie back in the day, it was called People Under the Stairs. It was a really strange movie, but that's
But
it's like,
that's what they like. They come out and like you go, "Oh, hello," and they like, and they
yeah.
shirt themselves. Yeah. Right? They're like, "Come to my garage." No,
Someone's like,
no. So
I'm a garage person. You're like, no, it's fine. It's totally fine.
that's
I
how
mean,
I
that's
started doing.
honestly like, I would probably say, there probably 30 to 40% of lifters are probably that. Like the United States is really big, just like Australia is really big. And we definitely have pockets of lifters, but I think majority of people have either an online coach, they're learning on their own, or they're in their own garage, right? And they're getting started. Because like in Kansas, I'm the only club, right?
Yeah,
That's it. It's just me.
yeah.
Oklahoma or in Missouri, there's a club.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's anything in Oklahoma. There's nothing in Nebraska. So these are states that
Right.
are like right surrounding me.
Yeah.
So it's very pocketed. So but then we'll end up that we've got, because we kind of switched well, we have a nationals, but we kind of switched our requirements around for how we do qualifications. And then we've been reaching out to organizations to try and have like reciprocity agreements so that
Mm-hmm.
anybody who lives with us can automatically qualify to go with them, right? They can create
Mm-hmm.
whatever kind of requirements they want, like as far as, hey, you got to pay a fee, you got to do this, but you don't have to come compete again, right? You already showed you knew how to do it, especially
Mm-hmm.
specifically like for amateur events and masters events.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but to enable them to be able to kind of cross over the void to go onto this other organization, meet additional new people. But now we have multiple hubs that do qualifications, like so that are you could qualify at. And then we compile all those at the end of the year, send out letters to who made the rank one requirements for amateur or who placed first
Mm-hmm.
overall for your elite lifters. They can qualify online. Like there's multiple different things, which you start to see like how many groups aren't really in a club. They're kind of lifting on their own. to try and get more of those people to come out and be involved. And I think once you go to a really fun competition, you're like, I want to do that again because
Right. You
um,
keep emphasizing that. You keep saying really fun competition, and I can't agree with that more. All that stuff you just said, I think it's done similar here. Like you can do most of your qualifications within your postcode, your zip code, right?
mhm.
And then and you really only have to travel for the national championship. And the reason that became a stipulation, just here's a history lesson for anybody who doesn't know, is because um, one of the earlier ones that we went overseas, and there was like friction between team members that did not get along because there was stuff that we didn't know outside of the sport. So what we decided to do was we're like, right, all you motherfuckers need to know need to meet each other before you put your colors on together, right? So we made sure that everybody at least got to the national championship, like, and then socialized and had dinner so you could sit back and just watch everybody's dynamics and go, cool, everybody gets along here. We can do this. Because the other thing we observed too is over the years, the bigger teams, I don't know if you've ever seen this, the bigger teams start getting a bit cliquey and breaking out into their own little pockets of their own. And you can't have that. You're a team. You got to be unified all the time. Like when one of you was lifting, that entire team, like that was what we did as Australia. We made sure the entire team was there when everybody was lifting. There was no excuses. Like if you want someone to watch you, you need to be watching someone else. You can't be off fraternizing and talking to people of the other team or going and swapping shirts or buying merch or whatever. Like, yeah, if someone in your team is in the trenches, then you need to be in there with them as well, right? And yeah, I think at least having that one competition, nationals or whatever it is that you want to have it, I think is still a very very good idea, just to probably even just consolidate what's happening. Because the other thing that would happen as well is not only did you get to exchange ideas with people from all these different groups where they would start to share and talk to each other, but then you would also have these moments where people are like, yeah, I've been following you for years on Instagram or whatever, but this is the first time I've gotten to meet you, and now I get to connect with you and all the rest of it, and now I've got a new friend in this sport, and that will keep that person also like locked on in the sport. And then that just has a domino effect. You see people starting to get along like that, and encourages people to more want to get into that. But the more you break those things down, or you do just exactly that. So I think back to your point of the fun experience. Like think about how far that you will travel for that experience. Yeah, you spoke about like Poland, right? That's a long way to travel to have an experience. Like I remember Latvia. I don't know if you went to IUKL in
Yeah,
Latvia.
I was in Latvia.
Yeah, man, that Irish pub. I will never forget that Irish. I will never forget or remember that Irish
That
pub.
that was when the was it the it wasn't the yeah, I think it was the what was his name? He is he is Polish, but he lives in the United States. Anyways, they got Jake to take some like crazy shot. It was like a shot of vodka, and then they had to squirt lime juice in their eye. I was like,
Oh, they were
Jake,
howling
what
at the
are
moon.
you?
They were
What?
howling at the moon. They
Yeah,
were too.
I was like, what are you, 17? Like it was that night. So we were supposed to. Everybody showed up at this bar. After the competition. And that next morning, we were supposed to catch a train to go to Moldova. No,
Okay.
to go
Okay.
to, I forgot where we were going. Anyways, Jake had to teach a seminar. So the train was like at 8 in the morning or 7 in the morning. It was early. And we were at that, what, Riga? See, he is around the corner.
There
Riga
we
is
go. Yeah.
flying. We
Still
had
in
to
the
go to
same
Riga.
country.
Yeah, still in
Dolphin
the same
Bill's up to
country.
Riga.
I was
You're going
like,
to
it,
Moldova.
it gets, so which they in Riga they have this really cool wild horse area that you can go check out, or they just have like wild horses. Anyways, and I was so hungover. So we don't leave that pub until like it was late.
7:59. Yeah.
No, it was like probably 2 or 3 in the morning. I don't know. It was late. Finally, Jake was
Mm.
like, "We have to go." So we back to our hotel. Um, I think we just go right to sleep. The next morning, we have to get up and just throw all of our shit into our bag. I am 100% still drunk
Yeah.
because it's only been a couple hours, and we have to walk up. So we've got all of our luggage because we basically just have like 50 liter bags that we were
Mhm.
carrying on our backs,
Mm.
and we have to walk up this huge hill to get to this train station. And
Right.
I just remember just like I'm like dying, like probably in the street, I'm probably wandering back side to side. We finally make it up to the top of the hill. Jake's like bitching the whole way at me, like just because we didn't leave this bar till super late. But part of it was on him because he was taking these crazy ass shots with lime juice in his eye, you know? Um, and so we get up to the top of the hill, and Jake had misread the ticket, and our train had left like 30 minutes before that because we were like, we made it on time, barely. We're gonna get on this train. Now he's got to teach a seminar. So we're trying to make it to Riga so he could teach a jiu-jitsu seminar. And so he's like super pissed. I'm like, it's okay, Jake. We're gonna figure it out. There's got to be a bus, like so we have to walk back down the hill to a station, and try and figure out a bus to take to Riga. So we do find one that's going to get us there in time. I'm just in the back of the bus. We get on there, and I think I slept like the whole way. Like I was so hungover. Then we get to Riga. We basically have to roll from there. We go see these horses. And then from right there, we go straight over to the gym for him to teach. And I was going to like get some video and stuff. And I ended up just basically laying on the jujitsu mat, just like and slept the whole time. I probably looked just dead because I think I was just sprawled out on the mat, just like I just can't even make it. Like, and he taught his whole seminar like super hungover, like he made it
Nothing
through
would
it.
have made him. I imagine nothing would have made him more pleased than while he's struggling through that while teaching, looking over and seeing you just resting, passed out on a jiu-jitsu mat.
I think I had like I did get up a couple times and do some filming, and then I would just go right back to laying down because I was so sick.
Just roll over.
That's good enough. I think, yeah. I just remember he was so upset with me. We were walking up that damn hill with these 50-pound bags, like only to get to the very, very top and then be like, the train's gone. And he's like, God, I fucking read the ticket wrong. Um, but it was one of those things that it was just a really memorable experience. Like everyone was there having fun. All the teams got together, and that wasn't a planned thing by the competition. That was just like a bunch of people got together.
Right, that's exactly right. Yep. And that's what I mean.
So,
Like people drove that. Like
mhm,
I've been to other worlds as well where the organization tried to organize like a something. Ugh, no. If if the host country did it, it would be different, and
mhm,
it would be something else. But every time I've seen the organization try to take the lead on that, it is always the dullest and flattest. Like, and and you just go, I'm not doing that ever again. Whereas every worlds or every nationals that I can think about where I've been like where have loved it, it has had absolutely rarely anything to do with what happened on a platform. Like, and
mhm.
everything to do with whatever the people engineered around it. Like, we won't get to go to the Olympics, but that's probably as close to being in an Olympic village as I will ever get on some of these things.
So, we're about at well, we're over an hour now, but um, to kind of close it out,
More money?
do you what?
Do I have to put more money in the meter?
Yeah, I'll send you my PayPal. You can.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'll Venmo
This
you.
is this is the
You can.
privilege of you talking with me. It's not really about you.
Yeah, thank you, Kettlebell Kimberly Clark.
Um, what do you feel like was one of you guys' biggest hurdles in getting to where you are now? I don't, we might have already talked about it, but do you think there was like
Yeah.
one specific hurdle that you were like, once you got over this one thing, like it really like that's where the break was, where you started having significant growth?
I wish it was that simple. If I think back at the time, like I remember having conversations with Cheryl, like almost every year, where you're like, "Thank fuck we got past that thing." Like that was a thorn in our side, like a real pain in the ass. And then it'd just feel like within weeks, something else would just pop up. And every single time, it was due to somebody serving self interest. It really fucking irritates me that like you go into this thing with the intent. There's always two ways to measure intention when we were doing things. It was always, are you doing this in service of the people, or are you doing it in order to gain something? And if you were doing it in order to gain something, it was fucking selfish and park it. If you were doing stuff that was going to be in service of the members, then carry through with it and do whatever it needs to be done. The amount of times that we had to get chewed up in resources because some self-inflated fuckstick thought that their needs outweighed the needs of like the 98%. Like you can't keep everybody happy all the time. I get that, but you are trying to tend to the majority, and that majority should have the biggest voice. The the um, the biggest hurdles or the biggest barriers were always overcome with in-person conversation. I cannot stipulate and echo that enough. Everybody who avoided wanting to talk to you directly, fuck them off. They do not belong. They are going to just continue being thorns in everybody's side and causing trouble from the outside, if or from the inside. Sometimes it's a cancer that you got to cut out. And as horrible as is that to be like the finishing point here, it is like when you look back over it all the time, and you never saw any of them coming. You got blindsided by all of them. Some of them were things that were just, like I said, they were like a cancer. They just like grew away and festered on the inside for a little bit, and then you didn't find out until it was like, oh my god, cancer, and then you got to get rid of it. But the the real like to get real growth, like your leadership needs to be direct. You can't fluff people off. You can't fob people off. You can't chat GBT your way out of problems. You need to sit down and be the authority on the topic. And if you're not the person to answer those in real time, then you're not the person for that job either. It's volunteer work. Like, put someone else in there, right? And if the person and if the people that are trying to get in there are only doing it because they think they'll be able to get something out of it for themselves, like that, they can't. That they're no good either. Like there's red flags. Like in the entire time I was there, not once did I hand out a business card. I could have coached hundreds of people, right? So red flag number one is if someone's constantly recruiting people to enrich themselves, I would keep an eye on that. The next one is if anybody's trying to appropriate things for themselves, like that's a hard one to see because it's usually too late once they've done it. But we've caught people with their hand in the cookie jar, and they're hard, and you confront people, and that's what I mean. You just have to ask them dead to their face, and if they don't want to have that conversation, oh fucking hell, are they ever guilty, right? And then that's just another flag. It's the so to put a better spin on it, to overcome the barriers, it was always coming back to then what is the intent behind this, and if the intent was to serve people, then we were on the right track. But if the intent was to gain something for a small group or a subgroup or for yourself, then have a good hard look at yourself and or whatever it is that's causing that problem. Yeah,
Yeah, I think, just like in lots of other organizations, I think, people changing out every 3 to 4 years is also good. When you have like the same person, that is the primary for it for so long, it just, I think, inhibits like new ideas, and because then it's just whatever they want, you know. And at some point, especially if you're doing a lot of work, you do get kind of burnt out, and it's time to basically get, new life into the organization, new people.
yeah.
Um, And not that those other people can't still be involved, but to kind of hand off that torch to get, that new energy in there. Because everybody has their own ideas like, oh, how can we make this better? Um, Not everybody's ideas are good,
Now, this is true, and like
but
honestly,
that's kind of why you have to have a group of people to work through like, hey, is this a good idea? Is this not a good idea? Like what's going to benefit? Do the members, do the athletes want this? You know?
yeah, and your representation needs to be that kaleidoscope that I was mentioning earlier. I in the I, w- I was asked to do this for 1 year, and then I begrudgingly agreed to do it for 2 and then 3 years, and I ended up doing it for 6, no 7. So I stayed for what felt like too long in that job, but I felt like I was always like providing and providing, so I didn't mind staying there because it was getting the job done. In the time in there was other people involved at that level, like Cinderella and Simon Hakaka. They're two people who I nearly didn't agree with on most things, but goddamn, they did the work and got the stuff done. That was the best time. There was a handful of people that you wouldn't agree with, but they wouldn't do the work. Like our ranking tables and that, like Simon basically put all of that together in its original concept, and I fucking hated it. And I look at it now, and I think it's one of the best things ever. I was just one of those things where it just grated me a little bit at the time, and
Mm-hmm.
but the aspects of it were perfect. And same with Cindy. Cindy did a lot of stuff when we started. She basically drove the idea of recognizing like Australian records amongst a bunch of other stuff. And in all of those processes too, we didn't get along either. But I love the fact that you got challenged on so many stuff. I probably lost 80% of the ideas. But I would do the work provided on what the majority wanted. They weren't my ideas. The having people to challenge you is the best way. It is the best. And then take
Mm-hmm.
all your kaleidoscope ideas and then give it back to the people and let the people tell you. And don't cherry pick them either. I fucking hate when you get like, you ever get a survey where you're not really getting asked questions, you're getting really, it's like a forced feedback where it's like, how fucking good am I doing at this? I'm like, that's not what we're asking. We're asking, do you think this is a good idea or not? Tell us. And then take that on board and actually do something about it. And if they don't agree with you, which has happened to me a lot, then take it and do with it. And then either continue volunteering and doing your fucking job or go, I just can't. And then jump off, which is fine. That's okay. And let
Mm-hmm.
someone else let another cog drop into the machine, because that's all we are in this. We're just cogs in the machine to help deliver kettlebell sport to as many people as possible because we think it's cool. And everybody else should too.
Because it is, you know?
Right? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Welcome challenge, embrace challenge, and have conversations, tough conversations, face to face. Don't hide behind fucking bureaucracy and red tape and whatever. Like that was rewinding it back, even tying it back to how did we get this thing off the ground? It was because we would have the in-person conversations, and they weren't
Mm-hmm.
all in your direction. People would be just like, "That was terrible," and you go, "Oh fuck, tell me how to make it better."
Mm-hmm.
And then and that's how it ended up moving forwards. But yeah, if you just walk back there and go, tell me what you liked about it, then yeah, oh great. Then the intent there is just to get a pat on the back. That's not in service of. I need to, yeah. Um, anyway, thank you for a very wonderfully posed question.
Thank you. I appreciate your feedback. Um, so if anybody has any other questions, please feel free. You can put them in the chat. We're kind of coming to a close here. I'm sure that Shannon at some time wants to go to bed. Oh, you want more questions? I
Oh
can
yeah,
pull
come
it
on.
from my plethora of questions that I did not review prior to coming in here. Who is your favorite? No, just kidding. That's not
All
it.
right, Kimberly Fox.
Honestly, we actually answered a lot of these questions that were on here. These are my chat GPT questions, by the way. So I don't necessarily usually use, but sometimes like this morning on the way to the gym, I was just like, hey, come up with some questions just in case I ran out of stuff to ask, which I didn't think I would. but sometimes you just like get to a pause where you're like, what else are we gonna say? We still got 20 more minutes.
Uh,
Oh, here's one.
okay.
Uh, what? Okay, last question. So,
Okay.
of the stuff that you helped build and that, what is one thing that you're most proud of? Such a
What I'm most proud of is um, that something like that. When I left the place better than when I found it. That was the job. I am very proud of a handful of concepts that didn't exist and wouldn't exist without me. And that is something that I didn't realize until I'd left. And then probably finally is like there's a competition like next weekend in Australia, around Australia. And I can say without any certainty at all that if I didn't take on this role, that competition next week would not be happening. And every single person that steps on a platform next week is there because I had some role in that. And that is something that makes me feel very, very small and very, very grateful at the same time. Like I'm very humbled by that concept that a bunch of people who I actually haven't met, like, because I'm out of it now, I don't do this stuff
mhm.
anymore. There's a bunch of people who will step onto kettlebell sport platforms because I said yes to a task that somebody asked me to help with many, many years ago. And that's pretty cool. And if I can still just hang around and keep doing that here at my local level and just turn into an old man that lifts kettlebells, like you see those dudes in their 80s at Worlds, like
Yeah.
I'll even wear those shorts that old mate from Estonia like bangs out every other year, that 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 hide nothing, and yeah, and then just carry on doing that. Uh, I'm certainly ready to just be sitting into like old man mode. But at the same time, there's a whole heap of ideas in my head that never got off the ground, and you know what? There's a place for them, and I'd love to see that happen too. So that's there you go. I have a question for you.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions for you. Okay. One, what did you enjoy most about this conversation with me? No, I'm just kidding. So,
Mostly that you said my name a bunch of times, my full name.
for unprompted too, unprompted kettlebell Kimberly Fox, which is what's
No,
written in the bottom.
I have really enjoyed this conversation. I mean, I don't know if there's really any conversations that I don't that I've had on here that I don't enjoy or that I didn't enjoy. There's definitely ones where I laugh a lot more. This is a very laugh-induced
Okay, good.
conversation. So, you know, sometimes they're just, I guess, more interactive. Um, and I'm a smart ass, so uh anybody else that plays into that and doesn't come off being like, God, she's such a bitch. And they just take it for what it is, just me being a smart ass, which I got from my dad because he's a smart ass too. I don't know, he was here earlier. But yeah, so that's what I enjoyed.
All right. And then if you were waking up for the first time with the day to yourself after a 23-year, like first vacation in 23 years, what would you do on the first day off in 23 years?
Man, uh I don't even know that I could even answer that because I am never off. Like I always have something going on, like something working. And that's probably because I have a lot of anxiety, which is um displayed as productivity.
Okay.
So, what would I do with just a day off? Like that sounds super boring.
I didn't say a day off. I said just waking up for your first day
Oh,
after 23
is this
years on the
is
run.
this is this a question about my retirement, I'm guessing.
I
Yeah.
was not saying it. You're retiring.
Not from the
Congratulations.
sport.
You.
I'm not
Oh,
retiring from the sport. If
oh
somebody
yeah,
was
that's
thinking that's
okay.
what I
You're
meant,
already.
I'm retiring from the army. But um, you know, probably what I'm most looking forward to is like my schedule with my position in the army currently is crazy busy. Like in the next 60 days, I only have 2 weekends off. So I'm really excited about being able to spend more weekends and more evenings watching my kid do stuff because like he's been playing soccer like the last couple years, and I feel like I hear too many times, especially now that he's getting a little bit older, like, oh, you're going to be gone again tonight, or you're not coming home tonight, or are you working? Like he never knows. Like he's like, you're dropping me off at the gym, like, are you working this weekend? And I'll have to be like, yeah, I'm going to work, you know. So I'm looking forward to not having to say that, and being able to like really enjoy my weekends because I am constantly on. Even when I'm off work, I get phone calls. I'll have to get on my computer and work on stuff because I'm very vested in everything that I'm doing. Um, if anybody's met me in person or whatever, I do everything 100%, even to the detriment of myself and my family, because I don't want to ever put forth a product that isn't good. I like it. It makes me ashamed to think that somebody's going to walk away and be like, that was shit. And so I just invest so much time into like doing that. So I'm excited to not have that part, but I know I'm going to fill it with other things. So there'll be something else. It won't be the army.
Right.
Um, but I don't, that was a very broad answer, but
No,
yeah.
no, you've pretty well spelled it out. So yeah, whatever it is that you choose to deserve, I choose to do, you deserve it. So well done. That's pretty good after a lot of service like that. So whatever project gets your attention with that 100%, I'm sure it's going to be amazing. And if your ongoing work in this space and with kettlebell people in your country and globally is a reflection of that, then we are all going to benefit and be very fortunate to have you do all that for us.
I'm all about like, let's not gatekeep, like get the information out there. If people have questions, like you don't have to go to a seminar to learn this information.
Yeah, need a place.
Um,
You're right.
so, because when I first came in, that's what it was like 100% gatekeeping. Like, in order for you to figure out how to do this, you had to have a Russian coach, or you had to have like go to this $300 or $400 seminar.
Mm.
Whereas, I mean, they're in other sports because they've been around so much longer, probably there's a lot more information out there for you to get. And there's a lot more availability because the sports are competed more widely and done more widely. So it's a lot easier to find information. And so that's why I think it's so important that we don't do that. When I'll see people online, I'm not a big fan of giving critiques online, but I usually, if I see something, I'm like, this person might need some assistance, I'll message them privately and be like, hey, I have a suggestion if you want to hear it. You don't need to give me anything. I see this and I think that this would help make you stronger or make you better. And for people to do that in an appropriate manner, because I don't
Mm.
think critiquing online is appropriate. I think it's rude.
Mm.
But if you really want to help somebody, like reach out to them directly, right? Have that direct conversation where you're like, hey, let me get on a Teams call with you. Let me get on a little short just because I just want to show you something. Um, you
Yeah.
know, and we have a new athlete that's going with us this year, and I noticed that they're going to compete, but they weren't holding the kettlebell correctly, and I was like, let me just get on a phone call with you. This one thing is going to make it so much easier for you. um
Mm.
you know and I don't coach that person or anything, but for us to do that more, and not through necessarily directly through commenting, but rather talking to people directly.
Direct
So
conversations, they're the way to go. And you're right. Online is a fabulous tool to help us like proliferate. It's getting late. It's getting late. Those
maybe,
drinks are working.
maybe it's that direction.
And No, no, and to get exposure for the sport, which is wonderful. But you're right. The downsides of that is, keyboard warring and hiding behind things and being able to make comments that might be unsolicited or unwarranted or maybe not overly positive. Plus, also too, some stuff you see online lacks context. So yeah,
Hmm.
have it like you said in a team situation. At least you can gain the context in a private setting. Or there's nothing better than like actually doing things in person. Like yeah, online formats for all
And
sorts of
connecting
education.
people, you
There you
know,
go.
like, hey, like I know like you're training here, there's a club that is like an hour from you. If you could get hooked up with that club, like you'll have so much more fun that you can go in, once a quarter, once a month and go lift with them because they just don't know it's there.
Yeah,
Um and I could be like, hey, like, I could coach you, but it's much better in person. Like I would go here. Like go to this club so you can lift in person. So you're more connected to everyone than coming to me, like
that's what they used to do that too. So people would contact us and go, "Hey, I'm in Melbourne. Like, do you do online coaching?" And I'm like, "Scratch that!" Like James Ross and Cindy Rell. There's a bunch of coaches like within driving distance of you. Like, yeah, sure,
hmm
I could take your money, but that's all that's doing again is serving me. Whereas like
hmm
I'm be so much better. Plus, then they connect with the people in person, and they're more likely to join us at an event, right? Rather than just get stuck. Well, not that there's wrong with being in your garage, but we don't want to then give people another reason, another barrier. We want to remove that barrier, and that barrier can come from simply as like you just said. You go, if you drive an hour up the road, you might meet some fun people, and this could change your
hmm
life, right?
I now we just keep going, but one thing that I found, we our primary business is jujitsu. And what keeps people coming back, and I think what's can be different about our group than other groups is the community part of it. Like, yeah, people want to come for like good training, but the people that don't fit our personalities and our type of enjoyment of the community group, right? Those people don't stick around, right? Because it's not their jam or whatever. But
Yeah,
what keeps people coming back is that like they get to go see like now that they have a new friend now that's in the jujitsu class, like a new person that they get to interact with, and that's like their gym buddy.
right.
And so when those people get out of their garages, right? And they have that opportunity to be able to go lift with other people. Because I hate lifting by myself. It sucks so
Mm.
bad. Like I just struggle through like doing the sets because one, it's easier for me to stop because nobody's watching me. Like I feel a lot more obligation to keep going and do well when other people are watching. Um, but you also like in between sets, you're talking bullshit and making jokes, and it just
Yep.
makes it makes the set fun. And you walk away with, you're not thinking about work, you're not thinking about the bill you need to pay, you're just like invested in the community and having this positive mental feeling like while you're lifting. So that way when you come back to go to lifting, you're not like, ugh, you only associate it with positive stuff, and so going to the gym is fun rather than a chore.
Right.
So
I
and
get that.
and having that community is what does it. And if you're an online person, like to try and get in on a Zoom lift is even better than nothing, where you can have some communication and while you're lifting and be enjoying in the suck. Everybody gets to share in the suck of doing kettlebell sport, where you're like, it's super hard. It's definitely mentally taxing. And having those people around to lift that, you know, makes you want
Yeah.
to keep doing it. It's like a run club. Like, who actually
Right.
likes to run? I'm sure there's people that do. It's not me. But,
They're not.
I definitely like it more when there is a couple of us doing it and we can like commiserate in our soldiers, that's all we do. We just complain. But we enjoy complaining with each other, even though we're going to go do it, whatever it is that we have to do. But what makes
Yeah.
it fun is that we got to bitch about it the whole damn time. like how
Right.
awful it was, you know?
Yeah. That's it. And I think that again, oh, you're doing just reinforcing the same. Like you can have these physical and cognitive, like draining challenges, and then socializing is the bucket that can help like make that all better, right? What's our other bucket? Social, mental, emotional. Oh, mental, emotional. Oh yeah, this sport's very mentally, emotionally crippling. So yeah, we do need the social aspect of it to round out that connection process. So more in live stuff, make it fun. When your people show up, make them feel like they had a good, make them have a good time. Don't make them feel like they have a good time. Show those people a goddamn good time, and then they're more likely to come back and bring
Yeah.
friends with them and family,
Hmm.
dogs, and everything else. Whatever.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and draw it to a close. I appreciate everybody that tuned in at 8 o'clock in the morning, or there was actually some Australians that jumped on, so it is also 11 something. Well, I
Oh
guess
yeah,
now
we're a big
it's midnight.
country.
Now
In
it's
some parts of the
12:30.
country that's still like Saturday.
Did you lose your drink? What are you looking for?
Don't worry about me.
So we'll go ahead and draw it to a close. If you, anybody out there, if there is a topic that you would like for us to cover or that you would like to present on, please reach out to me. Everybody that comes on does this, obviously does it for free. So I'll try and bring, I know I didn't pay anybody. You just did all that for nothing.
Just finding that, man.
Um, I didn't even send you any alcohol or anything. Well, if you show up, if I see you again, I'll promise I'll buy you a drink.
It is. You're gonna have to come
But
lift in camp.
you gotta buy, but you gotta buy Jake one, so I guess it'll
That's
cancel
right.
out.
Exactly. Done. Deal. Shake on
So
that.
yeah, so I really appreciate you coming on here, staying up super late. I That's a struggle for me, so I really
I wouldn't do
appreciate
it for anybody else,
it.
Kim Fox. So, yeah, thank you very much for inviting me and having me here. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, well, I'll talk to you later.
Yeah.
Everybody have a good Sunday.
Ciao, mate.